Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we sit down to talk about media empires, we're dusting off history books.
Right.
We're talking about William Randolph Hearst or the Murdochs, or we're sort of dissecting the corporate labyrinth of a Disney or a Comcast.
Yeah, legacy institutions, things that were built slowly, brick by brick, over generations.
Exactly. But today, we're looking at a media empire that has, you could argue it's completely reshaped the entire landscape of digital entertainment. And the numbers, they don't belong to a faceless board of directors.
No.
They belong to a guy from Kansas who is, what, still in his 20s?
It's effectively a state-level entity at this point. If you just look at the raw data, as of this month, January 2026, Jimmy Donaldson, MrBeast to the world has just eclipsed virtually every traditional metric of media success.
What are we talking about numbers-wise?
We are looking at 463 million subscribers on the main YouTube channel. And that's just the main channel.
I just want to pause on that number for a second because it's so large it just becomes abstract.
It doesn't feel real.
463 million. To put that in perspective for you listening right now, that is significantly larger than the entire population of the United States.
By a lot.
It's larger than the population of South America. If his subscriber base were a country, it would be the third most populous nation on Earth.
Right behind India and China. Yeah.
That's just, it's mind-boggling.
And unlike a country, that population is voluntarily tuning in, often, within hours of a new video dropping. The financial scale has finally caught up to that audience size, too.
Right, because that's always been the question. Big numbers, but what's the actual, enterprise value?
Well, we've been reviewing the financials from that BitMine deal that just closed this week. Beast Industries raised $200 million.
$200 million.
And that deal pinned the company valuation at $5 billion.
$5 billion. With a B. Yeah. That's not YouTuber money. That is tech unicorn territory. That's major movie studio territory.
Correct. And Fortune magazine is now estimating Donaldson's personal net worth at around $2.6 billion. So, yeah, we've moved way past the conversation of, is being a YouTuber a real job?
Oh, yeah. That ship has sailed.
And we're into, is this person building a new kind of economic power structure? We're talking about a media conglomerate, a philanthropist, a business mogul, and a figure who has fundamentally altered how human attention is monetized.
Exactly. And that is really the mission for this deep dive. We aren't just here to recap a success story. We want to unpack what's been called the MrBeastification of the internet. How did a kid filming Minecraft videos in his bedroom crack the YouTube code so effectively that he's now, launching theme parks and competing with Hershey's?
But we also have to look at the other side of that ledger. You can't ignore it.
Right.
Because with that level of scale, you get an immense amount of scrutiny. We have to talk about the massive philanthropic efforts. Curing blindness, planting millions of trees, and then contrast that with the significant controversies that have really piled up, especially over the last couple of years.
The lawsuits, the workplace stuff.
The workplace toxicity allegations, the safety concerns on his game show. It's a lot.
It's a really complex picture. It's a story of obsession, of scale, and a very, very modern kind of conflict. So I think the only place to start is at the beginning.
Right.
Let's rewind. Let's go back to before he was the guy giving away private islands. He was just Jimmy.
That's right. Born in Wichita, Kansas in 1998, but he was primarily raised in Greenville, North Carolina. And I think there's this myth that he just exploded overnight or that he got lucky with one viral hit.
The classic overnight success that was 10 years in the making.
Exactly. It was so much more of a grind. He uploaded his first video in February 2012. He was 13 years old. And the handle was MrBeast 6000.
MrBeast 6000. That sounds so distinctly 2012. It's perfect. And if you go back and look at the archives, what was he even posting back then?
It was pretty standard fare for a teenager on YouTube at the time. He was posting Let's Plays.
So gaming videos.
Yeah, Minecraft and Call of Duty, Black Ops 2. But what's really interesting and kind of a bit of foreshadowing is he did these videos estimating how much money other bigger YouTubers were making.
Huh. So he was already fixated on the economics of it all.
From the very beginning. He was looking at the platform not just as a place to post videos, but as a system, a business. He offered tips to other creators. He even had this series where he'd poke fun at worst intros on YouTube.
So he's studying the platform from the inside out. He wasn't just a passive user, he was an active analyst. He's dissecting what worked and what didn't work.
Precisely. And that analysis, well, it turned into an obsession. He graduated from Greenville Christian Academy in 2016, and he briefly attended Pitt Community College. But this is where the real friction in his life starts.
He drops out.
Almost immediately, to pursue YouTube full-time.
And I remember reading in the notes that this wasn't exactly a popular decision at home.
Not at all. His mother really disapproved. In fact, she actually made him move out of the family house because of it.
Right?
Yeah. She wanted him to have a traditional education, a safe career path. And so there he is, 18 years old, out on his own with this singular, all-consuming focus. And this is where the story really, really pivots.
This is the obsession phase.
He's described this 5-year period of his life as being relentlessly, unhealthily obsessed.
When he says unhealthily obsessed, what does that actually look like in practice? Because, a lot of people work hard.
This was different. This was forensic. It involved him and his friends, Chris, Chandler, the original crew, basically locking themselves in a room.
Literally.
Pretty much. They would order Uber Eats for every single meal so they didn't have to stop working. They just sat at their computers all day, every day, analyzing the YouTube recommendation algorithm.
So they were trying to reverse engineer virality.
They were treating it like a mathematical equation. It wasn't about just making content they felt was good. No, they were analyzing retention graphs. They were looking at thumbnail color saturation, studying the pacing of an edit, audio spikes.
Everything.
Everything. They realized that the algorithm isn't a person with taste, it's a prediction engine. It just wants to know one thing. If I show this image to a user, will they click? And if they do click, how long will they stay?
They were trying to crack the code, and I guess eventually they did.
They did. The big breakthrough moment, the one that really changed everything, happened in January 2017. He published a video.
The counting video.
The video titled, "I Counted to 100,000.
Which is, it's exactly what it sounds like.
It is exactly what it sounds like. It took him 40 hours to film. He just sat in a chair and counted. He had to speed up parts of the footage just to keep the final upload under 24 hours because YouTube had limits back then.
On paper, that sounds like the most boring concept imaginable. Who on earth watches someone count to 100,000?
Well, tens of thousands of people did within just a few days, and that was the viral tipping point.
Why? What was the hook?
It proved a hypothesis he had. That extreme commitment to a seemingly mundane or absurd task was inherently engaging. It's a spectacle of endurance. It signaled to the audience, I am willing to suffer for your entertainment.
And that just kicked off this whole era of stunts for him.
Right. It opened the floodgates, watching paint dry for an hour, spinning a fidget spinner for a day. He tried to stay underwater for 24 hours.
Which he actually failed at, right?
He did, yeah. He had to stop because of health issues. But the pattern was set. He realized that if he did things that no one else was willing to do because they were too boring or too difficult or just too ridiculous, people would watch.
And as the views started coming in, so did the money. The AdSense checks got bigger.
They did. But instead of, going out and buying a sports car like a lot of new creators would, he did something really different with that first big check. And this right here is really where the MrBeast we know today was born.
This is the giveaway model starting.
This is the genesis. In June 2017, he got his first major brand deal from an app called Quid.
Right.
The fee was $10,000. For a 19-year-old in Greenville, North Carolina, that is a life-changing amount of money.
Absolutely. You could buy a decent car, put a down payment on a house.
Instead, he went to the bank and he withdrew it all in cash.
All of it. In a stack of bills.
Took the cash, went out, found a homeless person, and gave the entire $10,000 to them.
And filmed it.
And that video went viral. More viral than the counting video. And here's the kicker. It made more than $10,000 in ad revenue.
So the formula was complete.
The formula was complete. Viral success leads to revenue. That revenue is then given away in a spectacular stunt, which creates an even bigger viral hit, which generates more revenue.
Which allows for an even bigger giveaway next time. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. It's a flywheel.
It's a perfect flywheel. And he treated the channel like a startup burning through venture capital. He just reinvested everything. Every single dollar went back into the next video.
And the budgets just exploded.
Oh, they skyrocketed. By 2022, he was reportedly spending about $1 million on average for each flagship video.
$1 million per video.
And he had to build an organization to support that. He now employs over 250 people. Writers, editors, producers, logistics managers, safety coordinators. It isn't a vlog anymore. It's a factory designed to manufacture virality at scale.
So let's unpack that formula a bit more, because when you look at his channel, even now you can see these patterns. There are really, what, three main pillars to the content? It's not just random chaos, there's a taxonomy here.
Yes, generally speaking, you can break it down. First, you have the stunt challenges. These are the difficult or, frankly, risky tasks.
High-stakes stuff.
Exactly. Videos like, would you risk dying for $500,000? Or something silly like microwaving a microwave. These tap into that primal fear factor kind of appeal.
Right. Then you have the second pillar, which the internet has kind of dubbed junk lord content.
Junk lord is a perfect term for it. It's all about visual spectacle based on pure excess, using massive, unbelievable quantities of a single product.
Like filling a backyard with 10 million Orbeez.
Or building a house entirely out of Legos. It's sensory overload. And it appeals, I think, to a younger demographic because it's the kind of wild thing a kid dreams of doing but obviously can't.
And finally, the third pillar, the one he's most famous for, the giveaways.
The defining element of his brand. Handing out cash, giving away private islands, fleets of Teslas, you name it.
But driving all of this, underneath it all, is that original obsession with the algorithm. We have to talk about the thumbnails.
Oh, the faces. The MrBeast face. That shocked, open-mouthed expression.
It's a meme at this point.
But it's scientifically designed. Bright lighting, high contrast, simple, bold concepts that you can understand in a fraction of a second. He focuses heavily on CTR click-through rate.
Because if people don't click, the video is dead on arrival.
It's dead. Doesn't matter how good it is. And once they click, he needs retention. He needs them to stay. That's why the pacing is so frantic.
If you watch a video from the last couple of years, there is zero dead air. It's relentless.
None. He introduces the entire premise in the first 30 seconds. I tied an FBI agent to a chair. Can he escape in the next 10 minutes for $100,000? Boom, you're in. The cuts are rapid fire to keep your dopamine spiking so you don't even think about clicking away.
His stated goal is for every video to be deemed original, creative, and essential viewing.
Right. Not just something you watch, but something you have to watch.
So, okay, he masters the content, he builds this virality factory, but Jimmy Donaldson didn't stop at YouTube videos. As we said at the top, AdSense, the money YouTube pays you for views, it has a ceiling.
A very high ceiling, but a ceiling nonetheless.
Right. Even with billions and billions of views, it's not enough to justify a $5 billion valuation.
No, it isn't. To get to that level, you need to sell something tangible. You need products. And that is where Beast Industries comes in. He realized his audience wasn't just an audience. It was a massive consumer base.
And then the first big play was chocolate.
The most prominent venture has been Feastables, launched in January of 2022. And this wasn't just, slapping his face on some merch. This was a full-on CPG, consumer packaged goods play.
He was going after the big guy.
And he marketed them brilliantly. He gamified the launch with a sweepstakes inspired by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You bought a chocolate bar, you might find a mystery ticket.
And the winner's got to compete for what? A factory?
A factory or a check for $500,000 cash.
Which is just such a MrBeast way to sell a candy bar. You aren't just buying chocolate, you're buying a lottery ticket to enter his world.
Exactly right. And it worked. It generated $10 million in sales in just the first few months. It became a legitimate competitor in the snack aisle, fighting for shelf space right next to Hershey's and Mars.
And more recently, he's expanded that food empire. In September 2024, he launched Lunchly.
Yeah, that was the collaboration with Logan Paul and KSI, right?
That's the one. Another CPG play.
It's basically a prepackaged lunch kit, and it's marketed as a healthier competitor to Lunchables. It pairs their prime hydration drinks and Feastables chocolate with some other lunch items.
It's really smart. It shows how he's leveraging not just his own brand, but the collective power of the biggest creators on the platform. It's like a creator economy happy meal.
It is. But not every food venture has been a home run. We have to talk about the burgers.
Ah, yes. MrBeast Burger. This is such a fascinating case study in the dangers of scaling too fast.
It launched in late 2020, and the model was a virtual dining brand. A ghost kitchen.
Explain that for people who might not know.
Basically, he didn't open any of his own restaurants. Instead, existing restaurants, could be a local diner, a chain restaurant, would sign up to cook his burgers and sell them on delivery apps like DoorDash or Uber Eats.
It sounds incredibly smart on paper. You have basically no overhead for real estate. It can scale incredibly fast.
And it did. Suddenly, there were 2,000 locations, seemingly overnight. But the problem was quality control. It was non-existent.
Because he didn't own the kitchens.
He couldn't control the final product. And the reviews started coming in, and they were not good. People were posting pictures of raw burgers, cold fries. By 2023, the situation got so bad that Donaldson himself was suing his partner in the venture, Virtual Dining Concepts.
And he used some pretty strong language in those court documents.
He called the burgers revolting and inedible.
Revolting. I mean, that is not a word you ever want associated with your food brand, especially coming from the founder himself.
He said he wanted to shut the whole thing down just to protect his reputation and his brand. The partners, of course, countersued for $100 million. It was a messy, very public legal battle that really highlighted the risks of just lending your name to a product you don't fully control.
It seems like he learned a big lesson from that, though, given how tightly controlled Feastables and Lunchly appear to be.
I think so. But he's also dipped his toes into the tech world, hasn't he?
He did. He has an analytics venture called Viewstats. It's a tool for other creators. But that also landed him in some hot water pretty recently.
What happened there?
In June of 2025, Viewstats launched a new feature, an AI thumbnail generator.
Oh, I remember this. It allowed people to basically copy other creators' styles, right?
Essentially, yeah. You could pull imagery from another creator's channel, you could remix their faces, and get AI suggestions on how to copy their specific thumbnail style to try and replicate their success.
I can see why that would be a problem.
It faced an immediate and pretty fierce backlash. Big creators like Jacksepticeye and Point Crow called it out publicly for encouraging plagiarism and, basically stealing the labor of artists and editors.
So what did he do?
To his credit, Donaldson pulled the tool within days. But it was an interesting moment.
Why's that?
He's usually so in tune with the creator community, but that felt like a huge misstep. It was a tool that prioritized data and optimization over, artistic integrity.
It really shows that tension between his obsession with the data, how do we automate dominance, and the more creative human side of the industry.
Right. But despite these hiccups, the empire just keeps growing. I mean, he even opened a temporary theme park.
Beastland, yeah. In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in late 2025, it had rides and attractions based on his most famous videos.
A theme park in Saudi Arabia. That is a very, very long way from Greenville, North Carolina.
It really is.
And speaking of that kind of global expansion, we have to talk about what was supposed to be his biggest, most ambitious, and maybe most controversial project of all.
Beast Games.
This was the crossover moment.
This was supposed to be the crown jewel. The moment he crossed over from being internet famous to being legitimately Hollywood famous.
It was a reality competition series for Amazon Prime Video, announced in March 2024, and it was released in December of that year.
And the scale was just unprecedented for television. They had 1,000 contestants competing for a $5 million cash prize.
The biggest single prize in TV history. And the deal with Amazon was reported to be huge, something like $100 million.
Correct. But interestingly, Donaldson himself has admitted since then that it was a poor financial decision.
He lost money on it.
He claims he lost tens of millions on the project. Apparently, he just kept reinvesting the Amazon money back into the production to make it bigger and better and crazier.
But financial loss, that wasn't the only problem with that show, not by a long shot. This show brought a wave of serious legal trouble.
It really did. In September 2024, 5 of the former contestants filed a class action lawsuit against him and Amazon, and the allegations were severe.
What were they claiming?
Chronic mistreatment, sexual harassment on set, unsafe conditions, and even denial of basic necessities like food, water, and medication for contestants.
I remember seeing reports about people being hospitalized during the filming.
Yes, there were reports of contestants leaving on stretchers. It sounded chaotic. Now, Donaldson's team, their defense was that it was basically a perfect storm of logistical failures.
What was their excuse?
They specifically blamed the global CrowdStrike IT outage, which happened during filming. It grounded flights and snarled communications for companies worldwide. They also said there was extreme unexpected weather in Nevada where they were filming.
Okay, a CrowdStrike outage might explain a flight delay or a communication breakdown, but does it explain the allegations of denying people food and water?
And that's the core of the lawsuit. The plaintiffs argue that the production was simply overwhelmed by its own massive scale and was negligent in its duty of care for the 1,000 contestants.
It paints a picture of hubris, right?
Yeah.
Trying to manage 1,000 people on a set without the proper infrastructure or safety protocols in place.
Exactly.
And yet, despite the lawsuit, despite the really bad press surrounding the conditions, it was renewed.
It was. In May of 2025, Amazon renewed it for 2 more seasons because it broke viewing records for them. It drove a massive number of subscriptions to Prime Video. And this is, the cynical reality of the media business. If the eyeballs are there, the controversy is often treated as just noise.
That seems to be a recurring theme here, doesn't it? The controversies are loud, but the success is always louder.
It is. And a big part of that shield against criticism is the philanthropy. It's hard to stay mad at the guy who is, curing blindness and saving the planet.
Right. It is his strongest defense and, frankly, his biggest selling point. The sheer volume of the charitable work he's done it's undeniable.
You can't argue with the results.
It really started in a big way with Team Trees back in 2019, right?
That was the first major collective effort. He teamed up with Mark Rober, who's a former NASA engineer turned YouTuber, and their goal was to raise $20 million to plant 20 million trees.
And they did it.
They smashed the goal. It was a massive success in mobilization. Then came Team Seas in 2021, which raised over $30 million to remove trash from the ocean.
And most recently, in August of 2025, they launched another one.
Team Water, yeah. That one raised over $41 million for the charity WaterAid to provide access to clean water.
Now, it's worth noting, on Team Trees, there was some follow-up reporting that showed in some areas the mortality rate for the saplings was pretty high. But still, the effort was huge.
Right, execution can be complex, but the fundraising and awareness are on a scale no one else can match.
And all of that is separate from his dedicated philanthropy channel.
Right. Beast Philanthropy is a completely separate YouTube channel where 100% of the revenue from ads, from brand deals, from merch sales goes directly to charity.
And what kind of work do they do?
They run food banks, they've built 100 wells in Africa, they've donated millions in tech to underprivileged schools. But the videos that get the most attention and also the most criticism are the medical ones.
The ones like 1,000 blind people see for the first time.
Exactly that one. Or 1,000 deaf people hear for the first time. He literally pays for surgeries, cataract removals, high-tech hearing aids, prosthetics or amputees for people who cannot afford them.
And this is where that really critical term charity porn comes up.
It is a harsh term, but it reflects a genuine critique from a lot of people. Critics argue that he turns philanthropy into a spectacle for views, that he capitalizes on people's suffering and their most vulnerable moments for entertainment.
There is something, a little uncomfortable about watching a YouTube thumbnail where someone is crying tears of joy right next to a stack of cash or a sponsor's logo.
For sure. There's also the larger systemic argument that these videos distract from the real issues. Like, why do these people need a YouTuber to pay for a basic life-changing surgery in the first place? Why isn't the government or the healthcare system handling it?
So what's his response to that? What does Jimmy say to that critique?
His rebuttal is actually very pragmatic. He says, first, I don't personally profit from these specific videos. All the money the Philanthropy channel makes goes back into helping more people.
Okay.
And second, he acknowledges that systemic change is needed. He agrees that governments should do more. But his stance is basically, in the meantime, while we wait for that to happen, I'm going to help who I can right now.
It's the classic utilitarian argument, isn't it? If 1,000 people can now see today who couldn't see yesterday, does it really matter if you got a lot of views for making it happen?
And that is the question that I think you, the listener, have to answer for yourself. Is the net good of the action worth the performative nature of the act?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
But the controversies, they aren't limited to just the philosophy of charity. We need to talk about the internal culture of his empire. Because while he's saving the world on one channel, the workplace allegations that have come out, they tell a very different story.
Right. We touched on the Beast Games lawsuit, but there have been allegations about the workplace environment at his main company going back years.
To when?
Going back as far as 2018, 2019, former employees, like an editor named Matt Turner, came forward and described a really toxic environment.
What were the allegations specifically?
Being berated, called slurs, not being credited for their work. The common thread in a lot of these stories is that Donaldson's on-camera demeanor shifts instantly when the cameras turn off. The friendly, generous, nice guy persona drops, and he becomes this intensely demanding, sometimes cruel boss.
Now, Donaldson has denied being toxic, though.
He has, yes. He admits to having incredibly high standards. He admits to being obsessive and demanding excellence from his team. But he denies the abuse allegations. However, the smoke just kept rising, and in mid-2024, things got much, much more serious with the Ava Chris Tyson situation.
Ava was one of the original crew members. one of his best friends. She was a fixture of the channel for a decade.
A core part of the brand's DNA. In July of 2024, Donaldson publicly cut ties with her after allegations surfaced online regarding sexual misconduct with minors.
Wow, that must have been a massive blow to the channel's image. A true crisis.
It was a full-blown crisis. Donaldson hired an independent law firm to conduct an investigation. In November of 2024, that firm came back and concluded that the grooming allegations were baseless and that some of the alleged victims claimed their names were used without their consent by the accusers.
So she was cleared.
The investigation cleared her, yes. But by then, the damage was done. Tyson had already stepped away from the channel. It just left this permanent mark on the group's dynamic.
And then there was the Dogpack 404 situation.
Ugh, yes. A former employee who went rogue. He started posting a series of videos making some pretty wild accusations.
Like what?
He accused Donaldson of staging contests, implying that the random winners in his videos weren't random at all. He accused him of running illegal lotteries. And perhaps the most damaging allegation, he claimed that the team knowingly hired a registered sex offender who was apparently Jake Franklin's brother-in-law.
That is a very, very heavy accusation.
It is, and whether it's true or not, it just contributes to this growing narrative that the wholesome public image might be a carefully constructed facade.
And he's even managed to create international incidents.
Yes, in May of 2025, Mexican authorities publicly accused him of climbing on restricted structures at the Chichen Itza ruins.
Wait, he climbed a Mayan pyramid? For a video?
Allegedly. The authorities said he and his crew entered restricted areas and illegally promoted Feastables products while they were there. It got so serious that the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, actually requested a formal review of his permits to film in the country.
It just shows that when you operate at this scale, you aren't just dealing with YouTube drama anymore. You're dealing with international relations.
You really are.
And sometimes the content itself seems to cross a line into what some critics have called dystopian.
You're thinking of the burning building video from late last year.
Yes. The title is Would You Risk Dying for $500,000 from September 2025.
I remember that one. A contestant had to navigate a series of staged hazards, including explosions and a literally burning house, to get to a briefcase full of cash.
Critics called it humiliating. It felt like a real-life Squid Game, but without any of the satire or social commentary. Just watching real people risk their safety for money for our amusement.
It's a very fine line between an exciting stunt and an exploitative spectacle, and it seems like he's dancing on that line more and more.
So let's shift gears for a second to the man himself. We know about the businessman, the philanthropist, the controversy magnate, but who is Jimmy Donaldson personally? What do we know about him?
Well, it's interesting. Despite the incredibly high energy you see on screen, he actually identifies as an introvert.
I've heard that. It's hard to believe watching the videos.
It is. He also suffers from Crohn's disease, which is a chronic inflammatory bowel disease. And that's actually a big part of why he's so driven. He's spoken about feeling like he has limited time or energy, so he feels this pressure to maximize every moment.
So that obsession we talked about, it comes from a place of physical necessity, in a way.
I think that's part of it, yeah. And his personal life has seen some big milestones recently, too.
He's engaged now, right?
He is. He was dating another creator, Maddie Spadell, for a few years. But more recently, he's been with Thea Buisen, who's a gaming streamer and an author from South Africa. And as of January 1st, 2025, they are officially engaged.
Good for them. But there's another ambition of his that keeps coming up, and I can never tell if he's joking or if he's serious.
Running for president.
Running for president.
It's the question that just won't go away. He's joked about it for years, saying he might run in like 20 years. But in 2024, he tweeted something like he'd run for office if the constitutional age limit were lowered.
Does he ever get political?
He claims to be apolitical, mostly because he says he doesn't want to alienate half of his potential audience. But he has shown support for figures like Elon Musk in late 2024.
It sounds absurd. A YouTuber president. But then you look at the reach.
Then you look at the numbers.
He overtook T-Series as the biggest channel in the world in June 2024. He was the first person to hit 300 million, then the first to 400 million subscribers. He's on the Time 100 list of most influential people. His influence is, you could argue, greater than most sitting politicians.
That is the crucial point. He has built a direct line of communication to nearly 500 million people. He can mobilize them to plant trees, to clean oceans, or to go out and buy a chocolate bar.
And his style has defined the entire platform. The MrBeastification of YouTube, The high-retention editing, the huge budgets, the thumbnails, it's the standard now.
It is. Creators like Eric or Matthew Beam are openly following his blueprint to massive success.
He hasn't just won the game. He fundamentally changed the rules of the game.
Exactly.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, how do we summarize the MrBeast phenomenon? What is the big picture here?
I mean, Jimmy Donaldson built a machine that is ruthlessly efficient at mastering and holding human attention. He then turned that attention into a multi-billion-dollar empire that, on one hand, feeds people and cures blindness.
And on the other hand, creates significant controversy and raises really serious questions about labor, about safety, and about the ethics of extreme wealth.
He's a total paradox, a philanthropist who allegedly runs a grueling, toxic workplace, an introvert who commands the world's biggest stage, a kid from a small town in North Carolina who built a global media superpower from his bedroom.
And if you look at the trajectory, the Amazon deal, the theme park in Saudi Arabia, that $5 billion valuation, he isn't slowing down. He's accelerating.
He's just getting started, it seems.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Jimmy Donaldson has joked about running for president, and it's easy to laugh that off. But when you have an audience larger than the population of the United States, and you have the proven ability to move millions of dollars and millions of people with a single thumbnail, is MrBeast simply an entertainer anymore?
Or are we watching in real time the construction of a new kind of global power structure, one that operates entirely outside the traditional boundaries of governments and corporations?
It's something to think about the next time you click on one of those brightly lit thumbnails.
Definitely.
That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.